Okay, so you know how it is being a student?
Mhm.
It can be tough. Like, seriously tough.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like you're drowning in information.
Yeah, you've got deadlines breathing down your neck, and then there are all those distractions everywhere you turn.
Exactly. And there's always this pressure, like you should be studying more.
Mm.
More.
Right. A lot of students, they think just putting in the hours, that automatically equals learning. But that's not always the case.
Definitely not. So today we're going to dive into this whole student motivation thing.
We're looking at some research and also some practical advice from YouTubers like Mr. Proton and JSpark.
They have some pretty cool ideas about making study time more effective, so you're not just wasting your time.
Yeah. Like one of the videos, this idea of deep work really stood out to me.
Deep work.
Yeah, it's like it challenges that more is always better mindset. Instead, it's all about short bursts of really focused, intensive study.
It's like a mental sprint.
Exactly, where you're really giving it your all.
Makes sense. But I got to say, it's hard to shake that feeling. Like you haven't done enough if you have pages and pages of notes.
I get that. It's a common feeling. But that's where the 80-20 rule comes in. The Pareto principle.
Pareto principle? Fill me in.
So the idea is 80% of your results come from just 20% of your effort.
Interesting.
And both JSpark and Mr. Proton talk about this in their videos.
Okay.
The trick is figuring out what that crucial 20% is when it comes to studying. It's not always the things that feel the most productive, like having super organized notes or using all the highlighters.
Oh, no. Are you saying my pretty notes aren't actually helping me learn?
Not necessarily. They can be good for organization, but they're not the most effective way to make information. Stick. Think about it. What really helps you understand the material? What prepares you for exams?
Good point.
Things like practice questions, flashcards, active recall, where you have to pull information from your memory. Those are real MVPs when it comes to learning.
Okay, I'm starting to see where you're going with this.
JSpark gives this great example of biology questions.
Right.
And multiplication tables. It's that feeling when you want the answers to you just automatically pop into your head during a test.
Right. Like you don't even have to think about it. You just know it.
Exactly.
But, okay, all of that makes sense. But what about distractions? It feels like I can't even go 5 minutes without checking my phone.
Oh, tell me about it. It's a struggle for everyone. JSpark calls distractions kryptonite to students, which I think is pretty accurate.
Yeah, definitely relatable.
So his suggestion is to delay gratification rather than trying to completely deny yourself those distractions.
It actually sounds doable. Because let's be real, I'm not going to just quit social media cold turkey. Yeah, it's much easier to resist when you know you have something to look forward to.
Like a reward.
Right. So you could say to yourself, okay, 2 hours of deep work, and then I can watch that new show everyone's talking about.
I like that. But how do I actually make myself stick to that? Well, that's where a technique like the Pomodoro technique can be super helpful. It's all about structuring your study time into focused intervals with breaks.
Pomodoro technique, is that like what you do with tomatoes?
No. It's actually named after those tomato-shaped kitchen timers.
Yeah.
But it's basically this. You set a timer for 25 minutes. That's one Pomodoro. And you work on a specific task without any distractions. When the timer goes off, you take a 5-minute break.
Okay.
Then you repeat. After 4 Pomodoros, you take a longer break, maybe 15 or 20 minutes.
So it's like interval training, but for your brain.
Exactly. Short bursts of intense focus followed by rest.
I'm starting to like the sound of this. Because honestly, trying to focus for hours on end, it can feel so daunting.
Exactly. And the Pomodoro technique, it helps you to invert time. Instead of feeling anxious about how much time is passing, you start to feel accomplished by what you've achieved within each Pomodoro.
Never thought about it like that.
Yeah, it's a little mind shift.
But can something as simple as a timer really make that much of a difference?
It can. One of the key rules of the Pomodoro technique is that once a Pomodoro is set, it must ring no matter what. No checking your phone, no quick email checks, no just one more thing before you start. You commit to those 25 minutes of focused work, and that's it.
So it's about building that mental muscle of discipline, resisting those urges to get sidetracked.
Got it. And by sticking to those intervals, you actually train your brain to focus more effectively over time.
Interesting. Okay. I'm on board with the whole timer thing.
Fair.
But 25 minutes can still feel like forever when you're staring at a textbook.
I hear you. But the way you structure those 25 minutes can make all the difference. Remember that idea of specific goals we talked about?
Yeah.
Think of each Pomodoro as a mini mission with a clear objective. So instead of vaguely saying, I'm going to study biology, you might set a goal like, I'm going to master the concept of cellular respiration in this Pomodoro.
I like that. Having that laser focus, knowing exactly what you want to achieve in that time, it would definitely make it feel less overwhelming.
And when that timer goes off and you've achieved that mini goal, you get a little hit of dopamine, that feel-good neurochemical that reinforces positive behavior.
So I'm basically hacking my brain with a timer and some strategic goal setting.
Pretty much.
I'm here for it. But what about those breaks? What are we supposed to do during those 5 minutes? Social media scrolling, catching up on emails.
Tempting? Right. But to make those breaks truly restorative, you need to step away from screens. Give your brain a chance to recharge without the constant stimulation of technology.
So I should resist the urge to check my phone every 5 minutes.
Think about it. You've just spent 25 minutes intensely focusing on a task. Your brain needs a chance to decompress and reset. Scrolling through social media or checking emails just keeps your mind in that state of constant stimulation.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm convinced. No screens during breaks, but what are some good alternatives?
Anything that helps you relax and clear your head. Go for a walk. Do some stretching. Listen to music. Meditate. Grab a healthy snack. The key is to give your mind a break from the mental heavy lifting.
Okay, screen-free breaks. Got it. But what about organizing all this information? I'm a visual learner. Sometimes those walls of text, they just feel overwhelming.
You know what might help? Mind mapping.
Mind mapping.
Yeah, it's a visual way to brainstorm and organize your thoughts, like creating a web of ideas.
Okay, I think I've seen those before. It's like
Yeah.
you put the main topic in the center.
Right.
And then branch out to subtopics, connecting related concepts with lines and colors.
Exactly. It's almost like creating a piece of art.
But does it actually help you learn, or is it just about making your notes look pretty?
Honestly, it's kind of both. The visual aspect, it engages different parts of your brain, which can help with memory. And when you're actively creating those connections between ideas, you're processing the information more deeply instead of just passively absorbing it.
So it's not just about making things look nice. It's actually about making those connections in your brain.
Right. One of the sources we looked at, an article from Mural, it describes mind mapping as a way to see the big picture and understand how all the pieces fit together.
Like turning your notes into a roadmap for your brain to follow. I like that.
And mind maps. They can be useful for all sorts of things. Brainstorming essay topics, planning projects, even presenting information.
Okay, I'm sold. I'm definitely going to try mind mapping. It sounds way more engaging than just highlighting lines in a textbook.
It can be a game changer.
Speaking of exams, one YouTuber, Study to Success, they had this interesting strategy for tackling multiple choice exams. I think it was called the Easy Star Circle system.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. It's all about strategizing your approach and maximizing your time.
Tell me more.
So basically, you go through the exam questions in 3 stages. First, you identify the easy questions, the ones you know. You can answer without even thinking twice. You mark those with a star.
So it's like starting with a confidence boost.
Yeah.
Knocking out those easy wins right off the bat.
Exactly. Then you move on to the questions that you think you know, but might need a little more time to think about. You mark those with a circle.
Yeah.
And finally, you come back to those circled questions, the ones that seem the most challenging.
Delaying the tough ones.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. I've definitely gotten stuck on a hard question early on and wasted so much time I could have used on easier ones.
It happens to the best of us. But this strategy, it helps you manage your time more effectively. And it also helps you stay calm and focused.
How so?
Well, instead of getting flustered by a difficult question early on, you build up momentum and confidence by tackling the easier ones first. And if you happen to run out of time, at least you've answered the ones you were most likely to get right.
It's like a strategic game plan for exam success.
I love it.
But even with the best strategies, sometimes the pressure of exams, it can just be overwhelming. I'm talking full-blown test anxiety. Any advice on how to deal with that?
Test anxiety is super common, and it can really mess with your performance. But remember that mindfulness stuff we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
Those techniques can be really helpful for managing those pre-exam jitters. It's about bringing your attention to the present moment. And calming down that fight-or-flight response, that can take over when you're feeling stressed.
So instead of spiraling into a vortex of what-if scenarios and past exam failures, I should focus on my breath and ground myself in the present moment.
You got it. Even simple breathing exercises can be surprisingly powerful. Just focus on the sensation of your breath as you inhale and exhale. It sounds almost too simple to work, but it really helps to shift your attention away from those racing thoughts and calm your nervous system.
It's like hitting the reset button on your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm definitely going to try that next time I'm feeling anxious before an exam. What else?
Another mindfulness technique that can be really helpful is body scan meditation.
Body scan meditation.
Yeah, basically you lie down or sit comfortably and you bring your attention to different parts of your body, noticing any sensations you feel.
Okay.
It helps you become aware of how the anxiety is manifesting physically, which can often lessen its intensity.
So I'm essentially tuning into my body and acknowledging those feelings of tension without judgment. It's like saying, okay, I see you, anxiety, but I'm not going to let you control me.
Exactly. And the more you practice these mindfulness techniques, the better you'll become at recognizing those anxious thoughts and choosing not to engage with them. It's about developing a sense of self-awareness and control, which can benefit you in all areas of your life, not just during exams.
Well, this is great. It's like we're not just talking about study hacks, but about developing a whole new mindset, a way of approaching challenges with more calmness and clarity.
And that's what's so cool about these techniques. They're not just quick fixes. They're tools that can empower you to become a more resilient and effective learner.
I like that.
Huh.
But let's be real. We're human beings, not robots. We need to take care of our physical needs too. Which brings us to another crucial element.
Sleep.
Sleep. The elusive elixir of student life.
I'll admit I've definitely sacrificed my fair share of sleep in the name of studying, but I have a feeling you're about to tell me. That's a bad idea.
Well, let's just say that pulling all-nighters, it might be doing more harm than good. Sleep isn't just about resting our bodies. It's essential for our cognitive function.
Okay, convince me. Why should I prioritize sleep when I have a mountain of material to cover?
Think of sleep as your brain's way of processing and consolidating all the information you've taken in during the day. It's like hitting the save button on your learning. Skimping on sleep is like leaving your computer running all night without shutting it down.
Right.
Eventually, it's going to start slowing down and crashing.
So I'm not just tired. I'm actually hindering my learning by not getting enough sleep.
Exactly. Sleep deprivation can lead to all sorts of problems. Difficulty concentrating, impaired memory, increased stress and anxiety. It's like shooting yourself in the foot academically.
Okay, you've made your point. Sleep is important.
Yeah.
But how much do we actually need? Is that magical 8 hours a night?
Right.
Really necessary?
Sleep needs vary, but most adults need between 7 and 9 hours per night. Teenagers and young adults might need even more. And what's interesting is that several of the YouTubers we looked at, including JSpark, they emphasize the importance of a consistent sleep schedule, even on weekends.
So no more sleeping until noon on Saturdays.
It might be tempting, but a consistent sleep schedule, it actually helps regulate your body's natural sleep-wake cycle, making it easier to fall asleep and wake up feeling refreshed. You're essentially training your body to know when it's time to wind down and when it's time to be alert.
Okay, you've convinced me. Sleep is officially back on my priority list.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, sometimes it's tough to resist that urge to cram late into the night.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm feeling stressed about an exam.
I get it. Those late-night study sessions, they might feel productive in the moment, but they can actually backfire by increasing your stress and anxiety. Remember those mindfulness techniques we talked about?
Yeah.
Try practicing some deep breathing or body scan meditation. When you feel that urge to burn the midnight oil, it might help you calm your nervous system and make it easier to fall asleep.
It's all connected, isn't it?
It really is. It's not just about academic performance. It's about taking care of our overall well-being as students.
That's a good point. It's like we're being given permission to redefine what it means to be a good student. It's not just about grades. It's about cultivating a love of learning and taking care of ourselves in the process.
Absolutely. A holistic approach is essential for sustainable success. It's about recognizing that our mental and physical health are intertwined with our ability to learn and thrive. It's not about sacrificing ourselves in pursuit of good grades. It's about creating a balanced and sustainable approach to student life.
I love that. So are there any other secrets to unlocking this good student within?
Well, there's one more key ingredient that came up in several of our sources. It's the idea of finding purpose in your studies.
Purpose.
That is,
As in, why am I even doing all of this in the first place? I'll admit, sometimes I lose sight of the big picture when I'm drowning in assignments and exams.
it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day grind and forget about the bigger why behind your education. But reconnecting with that sense of purpose, it can be incredibly motivating. It's like having a compass that guides you through those challenging moments.
So how do I find this elusive sense of purpose? Do I need to have my entire life figured out?
You don't need a detailed 5-year plan, but it helps to reflect on your values, your goals, Your dreams. What do you want to achieve with your education? How do you want to contribute to the world? What kind of life do you want to create for yourself?
Those are some big questions.
They are, but you don't have to have all the answers right now. Just having a general direction can provide a sense of meaning and motivation.
That makes sense.
And you can also find purpose in the smaller everyday moments of your academic journey. Maybe it's the satisfaction of mastering a difficult concept, the joy of collaborating with classmates on a project, or the excitement of discovering something new.
It's like those little sparks of inspiration that remind you why you're on this path in the first place.
Exactly.
Right.
And one of the YouTubers, Mr. Proton, he highlighted the idea of approaching learning with a sense of curiosity and passion. He talked about observing students who seem to effortlessly excel. And he noticed that it's not that they don't study, it's that their approach is more intrinsically motivated. They're driven by a genuine desire to understand, to explore, to connect the dots.
They're not just going through the motions. They're actively engaged with the material. Their enthusiasm, it's contagious.
And that kind of passion can be incredibly powerful. It's not about forcing yourself to study. It's about finding ways to make learning engaging and enjoyable.
So how do we do that?
Well, maybe it means stepping outside of the traditional textbook and lecture format. Maybe you explore a topic through documentaries, podcasts, online courses. Maybe you join a study group or start a blog to share your insights with others. The key is to find what sparks your curiosity and makes you want to dive deeper.
This whole Asian studies secret thing, I'm really intrigued by it. It's like finding that special something that helps you stay focused and motivated. For me, I think it's blasting classical music. Something about it just helps me concentrate. Do you have any study rituals or secrets that help you get in the zone?
It's funny you should mention music. I used to listen to movie soundtracks while I studied. Like, I was living my own personal study montage. It's kind of cheesy, but it worked. But beyond those individual quirks, I think there's something really powerful about reframing our whole perspective on studying.
How so?
We often talk about motivation like it's this external force we have to chase. But what if it's more about cultivating an internal drive, a genuine interest in what we're learning?
So it's not about forcing ourselves to study, but about finding ways to make it enjoyable, even exciting, turning it into a quest for knowledge.
Exactly. Mr. Proton touched on this in his video. He talked about how the most successful students, they're not necessarily the ones who spend hours and hours hunched over their books. It's more about their mindset. They're genuinely curious. They approach learning as an adventure.
So it's about tapping into that inner drive, that natural curiosity we all have.
Right. And that might mean thinking outside the traditional textbook. Maybe explore a topic through documentaries or podcasts or online courses. Maybe join a study group or start a blog to share what you're learning. The key is to find what sparks your interest and makes you want to dive deeper.
I love that. It's like we're being given permission to be more creative and playful in our approach to learning. It doesn't always have to be about rote memorization and endless practice problems.
Exactly, and that's what makes learning so rewarding. It's a process of discovery, of expanding our understanding of the world and ourselves. It's about those aha moments when things click into place, those flashes of insight that make us feel like we're truly growing and evolving.
So to wrap things up, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We talked about deep work, strategizing our time with techniques like the Pomodoro technique, managing distractions, using mind mapping to make connections, and even incorporating mindfulness to calm those pre-exam nerves.
We did. And beyond the practical tips, we also explored some deeper themes, like finding purpose in our studies, cultivating intrinsic motivation, and embracing a more holistic approach to student life.
Yes, that shift in perspective, that shift from seeing studying as a chore to seeing it as a journey of discovery that can really unlock our potential as learners.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
To all the students out there listening, remember this. You are capable of amazing things. Don't be afraid to experiment. Find what works for you and embrace the joy of learning.
Because at the end of the day, education, it's not just about getting good grades, it's about becoming the best version of ourselves.
Beautifully said. Well, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us. And remember, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.
See you next time.